detail. So it's, just look at it and see, does this make sense? If not, we're gonna discuss it. Go on, Sam.
And I always like to kind of go back to what happened with me within me being in business, and it's an actual experience. What she's speaking of is, if you look here, you'll see opening launch event. In 2024, for the opening launch event, $10. Just, y'all know that's not real, but to have the event was $10. But if you look the next column in 2025, there's no money here. And if you look here, there's no money there, because the launch started in 2024, and then 2025 she didn't have a launch. And a perfect example that would have to go with me is when I had my first office. I had a open house, and it was like a launch party, and I spent a lot of money for it. And it was it was a success. I got a lot of business people know, oh, you have your business open. It's like so they was really grateful. But what happened was, after I didn't have anything in that column after that happened. Then in about 4 or 5 years, I had to move my office. So when I had to move my office, I had to put that back in, because it was I spent even more for that launch party. But that's a good thing, because I was growing and I had the ability to do it. But that's what she was talking about behind. You won't have the same thing when you're dealing with the 3-year budget.
This is beautiful, because I feel like every number tells a story. It's amazing. I'm amazed right now. But I have a few questions. Number one, what happens to the leftover money at the end? Because usually I'm doing my budget and I have all this money after then after I pay my expenses. But where does that roll over to?
That's what you get taxed on.
Nah, be serious.
That's the profit. That's the profit.
Where you put your money though? After you do your expenses, where does that money go?
That goes out salaries, or it goes to me, because I'm the owner and it's my business.
Okay.
And I do mine in a couple of different ways.
Okay.
I take a W-2 and I take owner's share as well. So, we'll talk more extensively
Yeah, that's
about
important
that.
though.
Pardon me?
I said that's important, at least for me, because it'd be this big bucket of money after I pay what I need to pay. It's like, okay.
You save it, you reinvest it,
Yeah,
and it
I
goes into
save-
the company.
okay,
Now, you may
yeah,
have something
save-
you have stock.
Okay.
If you have stock, it goes that direction.
Save,
Okay,
invest, reinvest.
It's time to take a break.
Do you want us to take a break now?
No,
This is
because
cool.
Angie is going to get
Okay,
the food.
Steve, what?
When Miss Angie comes back with the food, we'll take a break.
Save,
Oh, okay.
invest,
Yes.
and reinvest.
What you do is you
Wait 1 second. She's talking. Moving forward.
what happens when you have a profit? Now, we'll look at raw numbers. When you send that profit, you gotta make sure you have allocated enough of money for your taxes, because you have other taxes, federal, not just federal or state. You have unemployment and things like that. But also the person in new businesses, a lot of them sink their money, their profits, right back down into this, depending on if they have to buy different things. Or they set aside that money for the business. You move it, your bookkeeper, your accountant will move it over as a profit, but putting it back into the business. As opposed to you taking that and using it for your party. You might, or you might decide, cause a lot of business people will say, okay, I know I need to make X amount of dollars per month for me, but I gotta bite the bullet. I might be paying myself less than $2,000. I have put cash in my business, because you're gonna put it on your books like that. You might use it to start paying you back in there, putting money back to the loan that you gave the business. But because you're gonna advance, some people advance their businesses. But you need to make sure, and I know we all, it's like, okay, I'm overjoyed, I made this profit, that's fine. But you use it to party and everything like that, you have to be very careful, because maybe the next year you don't make that profit. And you gotta think about that in the long run. Okay? Do I need to pass out your
I
motion?
keep going. One of the main things that, I don't have it, when we talk about, where the money goes back, one second. You, to address it, one of the things that, the biggest difference with a nonprofit and a profit is that money in a profit goes to you. In a nonprofit, it has to be zero at the end. It has to balance out. So that's something that you need to, one of the differences. Now, where you put the money back into your business with the nonprofit, you know, that's something that you and your board, you guys discuss on where you need to go with it. But when you're on a for-profit, you definitely have to either claim it, like she said, or put it back in your business. I put a lot of money back into my business when I had a profit because I didn't really want to, Uncle Sam just really get you real bad on your profits that you make. So you know, you gotta find a way to, you know, tax shelter yourself, or really, you know, don't get charged a lot of money. But if you're making enough, you pay your taxes and keep it pushing. Okay.
But you also, remember you are, I'm just gonna say sole proprietor, but you can do something else. But what I have seen is a lot of businesses, we look at their forms and they're paying taxes, like, where's the retirement component to this? Well, your accountant should have owed you this, because that's part of taking that money and putting it away so you won't be taxed on it. If you don't mind being taxed, that's your thing. But the ever learning curve, what can you do to make sure that you're sheltering any type of benefits, any type of growth within your company, is keeping that money where you can use it and not paying the taxes on it. Okay? It's always learning.
Yes.
You kind of a little bit answered my question. I was about to say like different things like tax deferred, tax.
Yes.
Like, but where does like, how do you get like the accountant to do it?
Your accountant, it depends on your accountant. He can say, I need you to go to the bank and open up an IRA, and I need you to make this amount in there, in that deposit into that IRA. A lot of accountants will do, bring me your receipt, because he's gotta make sure, cause he's responsible for your taxes, that you've done what he wants you to do. And I'm just gonna use just a retirement. I'm not gonna go to the different type of retirement account. There are other types of retirement accounts. He might say, I need you to put it here in this part of that account, and I need you to put the other component in here, because there are some of them that they are mandatory, what you have to add to them. Cause he's gonna sit with you and tell you what I want you to open. I want you to do this particular plan. Your accountants know. If they don't know, they'll say, go to the bank and get that information. We're gonna say we can't do that. We can't tell you what to do. However, this is, if you put the money here, you're limited on a certain dollar amount, but if you put it here, you're not. However, you have to add money to this, whether or not you make a profit or not. That does it right there for a lot of people. Whether or not they have to cover their employees, whether or not they don't. It depends on how you grow. You do what you can do. There are ways to protect that money, but you need to do that. You need to encourage your employees. You might say, okay, I'm gonna give them so much interest in my company as a benefit. That's something, that's a lot. Because as you grow, they're pushing you, they're earning too. They may not see it dollar for dollar. That dollar that you put in, I'm just using dollars. Some of them will understand, oh, that's money for me. I'm gonna talk to Mr. What's his name to buy these other products, because everything we earn in this business adds to me too.
How can I make it tax exempt, like paying taxes now and then having road tax free?
Okay, it depends. You cannot do a retirement tax free. However, some of your investments, depending, but you don't, that's another story.
Well,
We won't talk about that.
And did I hear you say, how do you get the information to the accountant?
Or how do you get it? It's gonna
How
go
you get it
tax
to 'em?
free till you pull it.
So what happened with me was that I was very, very frustrated when I first started because like I mentioned, guys, I am not a real good paper guy. So, when I got my first bookkeeper, I was reluctant to give that bookkeeper all of my information. It's just like, this is my own, and I was kind of, but eventually I found out that that's something that I had to do. And then when I left from like a bookkeeper and went to a full-fledged accounting firm, then what they did was they got access to my bank account. So they knew what spending I was doing on a regular basis. And it was all computerized and it was through the bank. They had their QuickBooks lined up with my bank account. And it was already set up with all of the different categories. So if I want to, I can go to the bank, to my business account, and I can hit a button and it can show me your expenses and percentages and everything. That information is automatically going to my account on a regular basis. And that's where they get the information, because if you ask me to come in and bring all these receipts, you ask me to come in, I had a difficult time and it wasn't accurately, showing exactly what the numbers were. So, I mean, how many people there have a business bank account already? Okay, it's okay if you don't have one. Even in your personal bank account, do you guys do online banking? Anybody have personal banking? You go to online, but go in there and look for the tools. They have tools, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase, and you can click. Don't just go look for your balance. Go in the.
Have them raise their hands again. I'd like to get them with students when they raise their hands. So Kodak moment. It's a piece.
The question: how many people have personal bank accounts? See, I know we get some hands up on that right there.
There you go.
And we can discuss in our individual meeting that we're gonna have together, we can actually discuss, about a bank account. Because you really want a business bank account soon as you can. Soon as you can, because you wanna be able to start right now, okay? Because it's gonna build up fast.
Mr. Stanley, how often your team run the numbers? Like, how often do they?
Oh, they send me something every month.
Okay, so it's
I
not
get something
quarterly,
every month.
monthly?
Yeah, monthly. And when I don't make no money, I don't look at it.
Okay.
Because, as a real estate, I get money coming in, but I mean nice money. I don't even look, because I know I had a bad month,
Okay.
And then they send a quarterly report. And then I get the yearly report.
Okay, gotcha.
And then that's when they get some more money, because they do my business taxes, my personal taxes, and that's when hopefully I have enough money where I don't get sick when they send it to me, and I can just, get paid.
Cool. I know you mentioned they have like the bank conversation on that. How do you know that you trust those certain people?
It's a good question, very good question. Like I told you before, I was reluctant at the beginning, but I mean, I'm with a firm right now, they got a license, and, just like I have a license, I'm not gonna jeopardize my license for 13 cents to take out of his bank. I'm not gonna do that. So you have to research who you use. And then what happened was, when I first got it, I asked a friend of mine that was in the business, a colleague, and then they gave me somebody. And then after they gave me somebody, I learned more, and then I went and I graduated to get somebody else. It costs more money, but people, when you're in the financial world and accounting, it's licenses, and you don't give them access. They can't, the program with QuickBooks, they can't do no withdrawals. All they can do is see. So they can't take my money. It's a special privilege that you get with QuickBooks with the banks. So and that made me feel real comfortable. Yes?
So would you say it's equally important to know?
Wait a minute, I can't hear.
Sorry. Would you say it's equally important to know how to do your own?
Oh, most definitely it is. Yeah. And you definitely, for me, I know how to watch my money. I don't know how to categorize it, and that's why guys told you that I had problems at the beginning.
Yeah.
But you definitely need to have some basic skills in, add, subtract, and multiply. You know what I'm saying? So you can even conversate with the bookkeeper or the accountant. They do the bean counting. I don't really, get into it anymore, or I can look at my phone and I can just say, I got this much money, I'm spending this much money, and that's gonna help you. For the people that like I was saying, the greatest entertainers, you think of like Prince, you know, their mind is so creative, they don't care, that's why they hire people, and that's why people beat them.
There, thank you, because I was ready to raise my hand for that. Don't ever trust anybody 100% when it comes to your money. Always watch that bottom line, because like he says, sports, athletes, entertainers, musicians, whatnot, they get comfortable, and because I got a CPA, I got an accountant, I got a manager, and at the same time they being beat and don't even know it. Okay, so like Stan is saying, know your money.
It is a risk, okay, but you just try to minimize your risk.
Baby.
You minimize your risk, you know, and try to take as many safeguards as you can. But at the beginning, you will be loan incompetent. Especially if you got a new business, you have a budget to do that. So you have to learn how to do it, or maybe get you some QuickBooks and learn QuickBooks so that you could already have some understanding on how it works. And you could have QuickBooks and it doesn't have to be tied to the bank. And there are other programs besides QuickBooks. I am not promoting QuickBooks, but there are other programs out here where you can, and I probably, to be honest with you, need to go and have my team do some research on something cheaper than QuickBooks, because QuickBooks is in that column right now, costing me a lot of money.
The advantage to they have some other free programs, is the more expensive your product, the easier it is to use. The cheaper the product, it's harder to use. The support is not there on the customer service. You just have to know how to use, you decide what's best for you.
The example is what you're saying is what happened with me with my my loan processing program. I had to go find the cheaper one, and it made me work a little harder. I don't mind working when it get that kind of work, you know what I'm saying, especially when it's gonna benefit me. And that's one other thing in business, things are constantly changing. They're constantly changing. You're gonna have to stay up. Financial products, even your products, when we have events in the world, it changes everything. Like the COVID thing, it just changed everything. We got things going on right now where the people are threatening to take the Social Security. It's changing everything. I mean, you'd be surprised what external factors will affect your business. External, I mean, because I lived through the mortgage crisis in America back in 2007, 2006. And I watched banks close. I watched people leave out of the business, you know, and I just had to pivot and find a new niche. And it's one out there, and every business is a new niche. It is. It's the information that you learn and being an own entrepreneur, you will start to see different things. But I had the mentality that I'm never going to work a regular job again as my sole income. It's like I'm an entrepreneur to the bone, and I'm going to always do that because I worked in aerospace for over 20-something years. And I gave them a lot of time and hours. And when I started giving the time and hours I gave to that company, and I put half of it in my business, I became successful. So that's another tip. So when you're here, you know, understand that it's a commitment to the bone.
You forgot.
And you will benefit if you take your time, do your research, and you know, stick to your budget. Okay.
So like, I know you mentioned like stock market and stuff, but when you're a new business, what do you suggest when you have leftover money? How do you get started with the stock market, or do you put that leftover money in a high yield savings account?
Well, I mean, I do have an investment planner, okay, and they make recommendations. I'm not real big on the stock market, okay, but I have a diversified portfolio, and of course, most of it is in real estate because that's what I know. I put a little bit over in stock, just a little bit. You know, I gotta ask Joshua what I need to do for stocks. You know, the crypto. And as a matter of fact, when he did an open house with me, I learned so much from crypto because everybody talk about crypto. First thing I heard about crypto, it crashed years ago. And people came back to it almost like zero, but then it came back. But Takes a lot of time for that, you gotta watch it. I just have a small percentage, if I win, I win, if I lose, I lose. But I kinda do it the, Warren Buffett way, slow, I'm not expecting nothing right now.
So do you suggest an index account?
No, he doesn't have a license, he needs to have a separate license to have that discussion. But when you do indexes, remember the limitations. We can talk about that online, that's a,
Yeah,
the limitations.
but that's why you hire.
So for my sorority, we have, is it 50? I think we have 50/50, like, I don't know what it's called, but like, we have a business account for the sorority, for the bank, and we kind of share it. Yeah, we share it 50/50. So let's say I were to like start my own business account, would that kind of like, would they see that I already had one previously?
With who see?
The bank, like.
Yeah, I mean, I have several other businesses and have different business accounts, so they see,
I
they,
mean, does that affect it, like?
no, they're separate entities.
Oh, they don't conflict.
See, I have separate entities. You know, I have a mortgage business, it's a business account, and I make sure that any money that I make doing a mortgage, that money goes there, and I have a real estate account, and that money goes there, and then I have another account for another little small business, and I have some of them at the same banks, and some of them are at other banks. And I always give my money to my black bank, One United.
But what happens when you go to a bank and you have multiple accounts, it's your profile that pulls up, it's your name. The person that's opening an account is gonna look at, oh, you're opening up another account. They're gonna make sure that they're doing the right thing and not, not pulling it with that other account, but they will see it. They will see it.
Turning it like, if you do, you'll be commingling.
No, yeah,
And that's
but
what
they
you do
also
not
will
wanna do.
make sure that you're not, and that you are a dishonest person. Some people open up bad accounts and do bad things. They have all these different companies. It's for fraud, but that's a whole new gamut. We're not even busting that. But he's telling you, when the banks are sharing their, all that information is on you, is pulling up your social. If you have a business account, say Charlotte Burnett, one, it might be I might have an expense account designed just for my expenses. I might have Charlotte Burnett two, and it might be an account where it's showing my money coming in for different expenses. And it's gonna have the same name to match. Those will match because it's the same company. But if I open up another company, it's not gonna match. They're not gonna put it there, but you're gonna make sure it doesn't go to the wrong number because you see it. And if it does, you need to move it and you need to tell your accountant, or that paper trail, it went in the wrong account. Or have the bank move it, go to the bank and have them move it over, because they can make that information in there for notes. But you still your accountant, you need to let them know what happened.
So Charlotte, you guys, if you didn't know, Charlotte, she worked in the bank for many years, I'm not gonna disclose, but she's telling you from bona fide experience in the bank. I actually worked for Bank of America Mortgage Division for several years, so we kind of have a little bit of background understanding on how the bank accounts go. And if you're gonna go into another business, you definitely don't want to start this business and use that as bank account money. You want to keep it, to whatever it needs to be. You want to keep the bank account. But did you have a
That's the homeboy.
I had a question, but it's just like, sorry, but still on the app, like, if I have like a bad record,
a bad account
like,
in the bank? Very good question.
and then I make a new one, with my responsibilities and all that.
What happens is, it depends on the outcome of the bad one. Because if the bad one if that issue has not been resolved, you're gonna most likely have an issue trying to take care of that. But people have bad accounts all the time. That's something we need to talk about. And they have issues, and we're gonna talk about this next week, about business credit. And business credit can be rebuilt, just like bank account can be rebuilt. But you have to stick to you have to have discipline on the method on what you're gonna do to bring it back. And especially right now, you're so young. You guys are so young, you get an opportunity to have a few mistakes. So you can definitely get that straight. Joshua, you had your hand up, son.
What do you mean by business credit?
Business credit.
Yeah, like, is it different?
When you guys open up your DBA, you're gonna start getting mail coming in and saying, open up a business line of credit. You're gonna get a lot of mail that says that, and don't open it up. Talk to somebody first. But business credit is a separate credit. You have personal credit and you have business credit. The business credit can take out a loan. You can take out a loan to business. But in most, and they give you them little credit cards at the beginning, but you gotta be very careful, very disciplined. Don't run when you get the, you start getting that mail, okay? Now, if you are